My favorite part is I started recording as you were doing that voice. Um, so I might have this as a clip.
Hi, everybody.
Oh no, you cracked. Oh no. All right. And so if you
Which is why I don't feel bad when I don't manage to roleplay a stat as anything higher than a 12. I mean, why Pumpkin feels that way. Fiddlesticks is a character. Wink.
yes. And you have been doing great so far. Which brings us up to the other thing with Fiddlesticks.
Oh boy.
Yeah. No, so Fiddlesticks, your parents sold your flesh rights for money.
Yep.
And you found out.
Sure did.
Yeah, you found out. Eh,
They fucked around and I found out.
Right. And so you went and you're like, I want my flesh rights back. When you went to 3 hags who had your flesh rights.
Yep.
And they said, sure, we'll sell it back to you, but, you got to pay interest.
Yep.
So I'm not going to go into more details because okay, hold on. Let's, future Pangoria, put up the trigger warning here. If there's no trigger warning here, it's because future Pangoria forgot.
Okay.
All right, so...
Yeah. We're do you want to talk about this? I'm fine moving on.
Okay, we'll move on.
Okay.
It was they pretty much here. I'm gonna summarize it. Okay, they pretty much enacted damage to the character who was a bard at the time, so that he would never be able to fully develop as a bard. He'd never be able to be the best bard. So which means that he'd never be able to get to bard 20. I think it means that he would top off at bard 17.
Bard 17. Yes.
Yeah. And instead, he got 3 levels of Warlock in the exchange. And so the idea there is that they said, oh, yeah, no, but we're going to take your potential. And they inflicted, like, horrible harm to, like, ears and fingers and throat. So that he would not be able to have a full range of singing. He wouldn't be able to comfortably play his instruments to the best of his ability, and he wouldn't be able to hear things that great. So he might still be he can still be a really great bard, maybe a composer, but not the best. He won't be the most effective, But circling back, what about Beethoven? What about Beethoven?
What about Beethoven?
Beethoven couldn't hear shit either.
True.
Yeah, so...
He had to use a stick to get around his fucked up ears.
Yeah.
Which, if Fiddlesticks decides he's going to try and pursue that goal of screw you, I'm the best anyways.
Yeah.
That might be something he looks into.
Yeah.
At the same time, he's very much part of the trouble he got into with the pact is that he's not smart and he either is a good person or is trying to be a good person. So he didn't want to kill people. So now he doesn't have to.
Yes, yeah.
He specifically has to not, which is great. Honest.
Yeah, it was, and so this was part of character creation where we were role-playing the conversation between the Warlock patron for Fiddlesticks, and it was really interesting because he's like, look, I'm still not, I'm not trying to be evil here, so I don't want to go around just killing a bunch of people for you. And they said, no, we can work with that. You're going to inflict a body horror that is worse than killing people on them.
And the other thing he said was, look, I'm a problem solver first and foremost. If I'm going to be acting counter to my job, then that's going to be a problem.
And they said that's...
And they're like...
Yeah.
We
That's
can
fine.
figure something out with that.
Yeah, that's not a problem. So it's really funny. I am of a personal belief that warlocks actually get a lot of power, but nobody deals with the patrons in a meaningful enough way. And the patrons should be contacting that player and going, I want you to do this for me. While you're there, I want you to do this for me. And have that be not 100% counter to the party plans, but as an interference or as an added difficulty to what the party is trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It,
Something else that kind of occurred as you were saying that, like, the big difference between a cleric and a warlock is that a cleric's devotion to their god is off in the plains managing their entire domain.
yeah.
And like you have to be a really powerful cleric to get their attention enough to have them intercede on your behalf
Oh, yeah,
directly on the prime material. You have to be like a 10th level cleric to have a chance at it. Warlocks, their patron is like right there, comparatively speaking. They can go visit their patron anytime they want.
Yeah, and
Like-
yeah, that should be a thing. And this is why it's like I took a long time, and I chose specific patrons. I said, you can be a Fate Pact, it's just not going to be with anybody. If you want a Fate Pact, you're going to deal with these. These are the ones that are powerful enough to give you a Fate Pact. If you want to be the Infernal Pack or whatever, this is the person you're dealing with. So you want to do that, you're going to have to somewhat align with what this person is doing. And they're going to be intrusive. Like Zemane. Zemane is an asshole. I hate. He's so evil. He's so evil.
I think it might just be Pumpkin's attention span, but I think he's only actually I think they've only actually picked up on like bits and pieces of it, and the image they've picked up has been enough that Pumpkin wants nothing to do with Zemine at all.
No. I don't want anything to do with
Like-
Zemine. As like, if I was in game, I'd be like, no, you stay over there, okay?
Yeah,
and
it's like
and it's amazing because it's sort of like, he's very much because he is based on the Slender Man mythos. So he is incredibly tall.
you took Slender Man and you made him an asshole.
Well, I mean, Slender Man was already a child kidnapping asshole. But
True.
yeah, but I made it weird. I made it awkward. I made it 100 times worse with implications.
You heard it here first, folks.
Implications. Oh no. Oh no.
Slenderman can absolutely get worse through the power of your implications.
Yes. Don't let me imply to you what Zemane is doing. Zemane as well. So he has no face, and Zemane is it's kind of like a bastardization. Like if you're talking with somebody and you're like, you're talking with that Zemane over there, you're essentially saying that nobody. So he's essentially like nobody because he has like no face. You know. So
Yeah. Do we need to provide the context of which patron that is?
well, no, I already
Good.
said that's the fiend. That's the fiend.
Okay, that.
Patron,
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure because I don't.
Yeah, no, and then
Memory of a goddamn goldfish over here.
no, fair. But yeah, no. So we have. So it's very much all of the patrons I have in game are real things. They have goals. So I like here's a goal. So if you're gonna get with them, they're gonna be asking you to do certain things. And But then I also added like preferences that they give, like if you keep doing the stuff that they're asking for, and it's like little trinkety stuff, but it's also like sometimes expanding you into having access to the rest of the network um of other like warlocks and things that they have. Um and so
You
let's
get big enough on the totem pole, you can make a deal with another warlock and
yeah,
get their help with stuff.
exactly. It gives you access to it. And so there's a lot of things like that in the game. And it makes the world more real because you've taken the time to do the patron in the world. And so, like with the Fey Pact Warlock, I think you were thinking about a bunch of different levels for your character, and then you actually role played with with the Warlock patron, and then you said, "I think I might stay at level 3."
Yeah, I was very much like, okay, so Warlock. I went into Warlock thinking Warlock looks sketchy as hell and like it's gonna be an obligation on my time, and I don't want to have to deal with that. And then this fucker,
And the thing is that
man, like, I'm acting angrier than I am.
okay,
Fallstar explained his stance on it, and it sounded enough like it wasn't going to hit me too much that I was willing to dip my toe into it the next time I needed to make a serious character.
mm-hmm.
I also didn't want to be specifically a healer, or I would have just gone Celestial and we wouldn't
Right,
be having this goddamn conversation, because the Celestial is going to be a completely different bag of horse shit.
right. But I feel like the role playing aspect of like gaining your warlock levels was kind of intense for you. And then afterwards you
It
said,
slapped me in the face like a truck.
yeah, and I didn't expect it to. I wanted it to be interesting, and I wanted, you know me, I love body
Yeah,
horror. Um,
yeah. I
and
think it probably would have been better if it hadn't been my first Warlock, if that
mm,
makes sense.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, you should have been doing warlocks when I first started DMing fifth edition, because I was like really bad with them, and I was just like, yeah, you're a warlock, and I can't think of how to do this interaction. I don't understand it. Um,
no, because that would have created the same problem later on. Because then I would have run into, oh, I remember the last time I made a warlock, he let me get away with a bunch of shit. Let me
yeah,
try again. What the fuck is this?
fair,
So,
fair.
yeah, no. What
Yeah.
I should have done is just gone Celestial, because, like, no. I think I'm tempting fate, and I'm gonna shut up now.
But I mean, Celestial has its own. The whole thing with warlocks, I
Like,
feel, is that there's like there's definitely like a weirdness about it, which is why it's like I have so much trouble with the Hexblade Warlock, because, and we've gone down this rabbit hole before in this podcast.
we've gone down this rabbit hole. I made a solution you like, and I'm totally fine if we never incorporate it.
Yeah,
The core problem of the Hexblade Warlock is people think it's a pact with your sword, which is the
yeah,
stupidest fucking thing
hmm,
I've ever heard. It is
yeah,
a hunk of metal.
yeah.
It is a hunk of metal. There is nothing there.
But it's also,
No.
yeah, no, there's a lot
Like,
of like, well, I'm the Hexblade, so what's my magic weapon? I'm like, that's not the
that's
conversation.
definitely not how that works.
Yeah, you
No.
just,
No.
yeah.
Like,
So it's like, so there's a lot of importance of like the realism of the, not the
it.
realism, but like the aspect of warlock and the pact making, because you can steal power. As one of the storylines that you can have as a warlock and the patron is that you're stealing the power. How are you stealing the power is up to you and up to the DM, and if that's the conversation. And I can I can see that with some of these, but it would have involved you breaking into their home and like taking something of theirs and having that be the thing that's giving you your powers.
And at that point, even then, there's still like a further connection to here's this guy.
Yeah.
And if you want to do, like, you're going to have to deal with this guy at some point.
Yeah.
Like,
And-
and the Hexblade doesn't have that inherently,
Right.
and that's a real problem.
Yeah, it's
To say nothing of the fact that mechanically the Hexblade is just too goddamn much.
well, mechanically, like even then, it doesn't make sense. It's like you have gained the power over, that is shared by a magical shadow weapon, and by leeching off of that power, when you kill somebody, a specter rises up and fights with you, because a specter rising up and fighting with you makes sense with having a weapon. It's
Okay. Are you ready for the punchline to this entire conversation?
Let's go.
The Hexblade is a class in 3rd edition, 3.5, that was introduced in the Complete Warrior. The Warlock was a class that was introduced in 3.5 in the Complete Arcane, I think. That might be slightly incorrect. I don't actually have that book. The point being that they're actually 2 different classes. And that's where the problem is coming from.
Yeah, the problem's coming from everywhere. But anyways,
The problem is coming from everywhere.
yeah, the problem is coming from
We have
inside
the
the
problem
house.
surrounded from this side.
Yeah, the problem is coming from inside the house. I need you to hang up and run outside. But yeah, no, it's...
Oh, okay. Beep.
No, but it's very much like the issue with that, right? So we go back to Fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks now has Warlock levels, and you as the player, having experienced the body horror, you became like, I don't want to get like more levels, and I felt really horrible with that because I'm like, that was not the goal. That's not the goal. That's not what we're here for. We're here for body horror,
We're all here
and
to have
then
a good time.
we're here for body horror.
Hold on. What was that?
We're here for body horror, and then having you come back for more body horror. And
You can't see it, but I'm mean mugging you.
so, and body horror is not one of the. I mean, there's very specific body horror that I avoid and I don't do per request. But none of the other body horror was ever flagged, and so I was like, cool, I get to do body horror, which I love.
I don't think it was. The body horror was bad. I think it's more that I wasn't expecting. Like, the body horror jumped at me from behind a fucking couch.
Right. It went boo, right?
It went boo.
Yeah.
I'm fine with the body horror when it doesn't go boo. Why did the body horror go boo? This was not in the contract.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean for the body horror to go boo. But it's very much. I'm hoping that given enough time, you'll be like, okay, if I want a warlock level, I'll be fine. And if you want, and you go, can I get the warlock level? But like we skipped the thing, and I'm like, yeah, you wait. I'm like, okay, fine. You wake up like a few weeks later, and you're like sore. I'm not gonna say where, and then you now have an additional powers.
If I take the other warlock level, it's probably not going to come to that. One, the other warlock powers I'd be getting would be +2 to my stats.
Right. No. See, here's the thing. I knew that, and I have body horror for it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so
let's see.
Yeah,
I just hit Bard 8.
Well,
Oh,
so-
shit. I should probably look up Bardic Versatility.
okay, not right now. We're in the middle of a podcast, remember?
Fuck, right. You're right.
See, and this is why I say that that there's a shared ADHD diagnosis. Like, you have both.
Ooh, rabbit hole.
Rabbit holes. Oh, rabbit holes. Okay, so again, we go back and we're like, what, we have, you're a bard, you're a warlock, your patrons.
I'm a bard. I'm a warlock. Thanks to a feat, I do the hexbladey things a
Yes.
little.
Yeah, because the patron gave you the magic weapon. After you've gotten enough stuff, you get the feat, you get to get the patron magic weapon.
Right.
Thing. Because now it makes sense because the patron gave you something that gives you the tool, that gives you the
Yes.
abilities.
See, people, there's a way to do it right.
Yeah, it's like I don't, and this is all coming back to the conversation we had, which was everything, like things just need to be able to make sense, even if we're talking about a magic infused world where the magic infused world gives the players characters the necessary secondary superpowers to do the things that they're doing. And
Right.
and so as much as I harp on, Hexblade doesn't make sense, if you can make it make sense, go ahead. Right? I'm not trying to yuck other people's yum. It's just that for me personally, it is too, like, even with all of like me trying my best to make it make sense for the players, it just didn't make sense. And I said, I will give you want Hexblade, you get Hexblade, but you're gonna get it this way, and you're also on top of that gonna be able to get like a patron that actually makes sense, and you can interact with and have it be a thing. So
yeah.
yeah, it's sort of like, but it's all about like the consistency of the game in the DM's head and in the player's head, and because the dungeon master is the arbiter of the rules and the world, the player has to talk with the DM about it and have that conversation about how to get the world going. And which is why I'm bringing up, like, the world is infused with magic. That is what's giving normal people, the hero people, the necessary secondary superpowers. A hero is chosen by a god. The god's influence gives the hero the necessary secondary superpowers. Even if the hero is not a paladin or a cleric, they don't have to be quote unquote holy divine people to do the thing.
Yeah. Like, okay, the Eyes of Grumsh are a bad example. Because that's just a paladin, ultimately.
Right, but yeah, like,
But, like, there's still, like, you could absolutely be a highly devout rogue of,
yeah.
like...
I mean, take our rogue of Falerion. Our rogue worships the god of the sun in my world. The god of the sun, of course, is the god of white lies. So,
God of the sun.
so people who worship Falerion knows that he's the god of white lies. The people who don't worship Falerion but have like Falerion in the background, they just see him as the god of the sun. So all of his like statues and things is like sun iconography, him, guiding the sun across the sky and things like that.
Yep.
But Falerion is there to kind of like ease people's suffering, in the sense that if hearing the truth is going to cause you more harm right now, he's going to make sure that you think everything is going to be okay. A great moment, I think, there's like in the newest Evil Dead movie, the aunt goes, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. And her niece goes, you're going to make a great mom someday. And she goes, why? And she goes, because you're really good at lying to Mind you, they're like covered in blood, and you know, the girl's
Yeah,
mom
no,
has
it's
gone
hilarious.
full psycho. So,
We.
but yeah, no, but that you know, so a rogue that is devout to Valerion, you know, you can be devout to that, and now that god likes you, and so their influence on the world will be to your benefit, which is why you know you can get a 32 on your stealth check. Well, of course, of course. Why wouldn't that be? Why couldn't you get a 33 disguise check? To like to disguise kit check to like make somebody else look like somebody else. Of course, nobody can see through that.
I would like to point out that you dug this grave.
I did, I did, but I also want to point out that the gods themselves would have been tricked by that. Okay.
Valerian loses track of his worshipper for a second. Shit, where'd he go?
He's just a little guy. He's just a little guy.
He's just a little guy.
Yeah.
Not like me. I am a tortured soul, wreathed in the consequences of actions taken by people who I want nothing to do with.
Yeah. And really, that's such an edgy. I love that your character is also like really into people being edgy. And so when you saw somebody being edgy, you're like, "Oh my god, they're so edgy." I have to.
Yes! Work it!
It's just it's it's very much Misfits and Magic's Erika Ishii character.
He's so...
And the only thing that's not happening is I'm not giving you the full like Blackpink treatment of like everything becoming cutesy around you. I'm instead double downing on like the edginess and like the horror aspects of things, which I think just makes it even funnier. Yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, Pumpkin. I mean, Fiddlesticks.
Right, because Fiddlesticks and Pumpkin are different Oh, who the fuck are we kidding? Okay, this is Pumpkin playing Fiddlesticks and Pangoria Fallstar. I feel like we're kind of signing out at this point.
We are. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to say, if you can support us on Ko-fi, and we're going to be making more 5e compatible content and releasing it there. I'd really appreciate it. Bye, Pumpkin.
Bye.